You're listening to the Kelly Green Hour for the Always Next Year Podcast Studio Network. You can find the team on our Twitter, at ANY Podcast, or visit us on our website, www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. And now, to bring us in, the Jackdaws.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Kelly Green Hour. And finally, for the first time in probably a month, we get a victory Green Hour as the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the New York Giants 23-17 in overtime on Monday night. And the Eagles control their own destiny as they are getting set to face another division rival, the Washington Redskins. I'm your host, LJ Harrell, and joining me as always is Connor. Connor, what's up, man?
Oh, not much. Just trying to help you with technology and your microphone, but you know,
my old ass computer.
Just trying. It's just trying. Otherwise, it's been good, man. Like life's busy, you know. It's the time of season, time of year, time of season.
Yeah, it definitely is. But let's start, as I mentioned, with the Eagles' overtime victory. They looked lifeless in the first half, down 17-3. Ronald Darby missing a tackle, which Jim Schwartz took full blame for, which I don't know why he would. Darby's just terrible. And at the end of the first half, Darby got burnt by Darius Slayton. He just ran a straight go, ran right by Darby. But the Eagles came back in the second half, and at halftime, as the Eagles were coming off the field, the boos were raining down, and they were well deserved. They were playing like they had no heart. But that second half, they came out, and Carson Wentz, maybe he's had his career-defining moment up to this point, because he had a great second half, throwing for over 200 yards and finding Zach Ertz, and doing all this with a practice squad wide receiver in Greg Ward, a practice squad running back in Boston Scott, a practice squad tight end receiver in Josh Perkins, a backup right tackle in Big V. He didn't have it easy, but he was able to come away with the victory, and a big victory to the Eagles as they sit tied for first place in the NFC East at 6-7.
Yeah, the first half certainly was ugly. It definitely was not pretty, and it had its moments. Carson Wentz was having a hard time. Doug Peterson was having a hard time play calling, getting any type of play going. The injury bug continued to bite us. But, I mean, at the end of it, I mean, we saw that this team can play through adversity, that they have their moments. Carson Wentz can lead a end-of-game march down the field, a season, probably what you could call it a season-saving drive, a game-saving for sure drive. It's really nice to see, and it was nice to see Zach Ertz step up, finally be the star that we needed him to be in that moment. Boston Scott stepping up, my boy, Boston Scott, somebody who I've praised, who I think has a lot more talent than people want to give him to be. He stepped up and he showed that he can play out, and it was big. It was a big game. There was a lot of good things that came from this game, I think, ultimately.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this Boston Scott thing. Yes, he had a great game. It was the best game, obviously, of his young career. But I think people need to pump the brakes right now. I need to see it happen more consistently. I also think that it was the Giants, and the Giants are not a good team. So, I want to see him do it. And so it's going to be hard because you're going up against a bad Washington team. You're going to go up against a pretty bad, an average Dallas team, and then going up against a bad Giants team to end the season. So, yes, Boston Scott had a big game. He came through at over 120, I think, all-purpose yards. He scored, catching the ball out the backfield. He scored a rushing touchdown, kind of doing all the stuff that Darren Sproles used to do for us. But people still need to calm down. They still need to pump the brakes.
You know what? The way I see it is if you have the right backfield in play, like a healthy Jordan Howard, a healthy Miles Sanders, and then your third running back in line is a guy like Boston Scott, and if he can show a bit more consistency? Yes. But the fact that you're looking for consistency from your third running back, that just doesn't happen. Look around the league. That just doesn't happen.
I'm saying that because people are trying to anoint him as the savior, and I don't think he's all that. I just think that, he could go out this week, fumble the ball twice, and people are going to be belittling him and saying this is why he was a practice squad running back. Our practice squad player. There was early in the season when he made dumb mistakes bringing the ball out on kickoff returns and fumbling on, look, there's a reason why he was a practice squad player. Yes. Can he build to become a good player? Yes. But I just think people are throwing out that him being a savior or him being the end all be all a little bit too early.
I'm just gonna say that I was, you were calling me out earlier. I think it was preseason episodes and I was talking Boston Scott. So I've been on that train. I've been there since the beginning of the season. You know what? I think he's a good third back when you consider Corey Clement can't stay healthy at all. When you consider that we're looking for an all-purpose type replacement for Darren Sproles that is similar to Darren Sproles, I think this is a guy that if he gets more time on the field to become consistent, this was his first consistent opportunity. This was his first real taste of consistency. So I think I don't want him to be able to get consistent, because that means that we continue to have injury problems or that we continue to have issues in getting other people going. And it reaches a point where you have to give Boston Scott a chance, or you have to give Boston Scott all this opportunity, because Miles Sanders is doing all right, but struggling a bit. So they just they saw Boston Scott. He was open. He was making the plays. So I don't want to see him get the consistent looks and the consistent touches. And I mean, maybe that does sound bad, but I just think that just means there's issues with the 1 and 2 running backs if we're turning to the 3 running back and we're looking for that RB3 to be putting up that RB1 type game week in and week out.
I mean, and that's not what I'm expecting. If he can get healthy, I want them to feature Miles Sanders more, because that's what they drafted him for, and that's the type of player that I think he can be. But, I mean, I guess until then, obviously they don't have faith in Jay Ajayi. I have no idea what the hell's going on with Jordan Howard. That's just, it's the weirdest thing. It has to be something a lot more than that.
Well, welcome to the Philadelphia Eagles medical.
Yeah, they need to go.
Craziness, the medical insanity that we're going through right now. Year in and year out, it's the same goddamn thing, no matter who they bring in on the medical staff. So I just don't know. This is crazy.
Yeah, it makes zero sense. And the funny thing is, they replaced the medical staff after the Super Bowl, and it hasn't gotten any better. They missed Rick Burkhalter a lot. When he left, when Andy left, he went to Kansas City. He's the best, trainer, in the league. And they really miss him, and I have no idea what the heck the Eagles have to do when it comes to this training staff, because they get little, nicks every week. There hasn't been a week in the last 2 years where they've been 100% healthy, and it's bothersome and it's worrisome, and it's something that they really do need to fix.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we saw it at the start of the season. It was on the defensive side of the ball. Now it's on the offensive side of the ball, and it actually feels like, but beyond this Jordan Howard thing, it feels like they're finally starting to, get things right as far as a medical staff perspective goes, because they got Deshaun Jackson. They got him off the field. He's done. He had his surgery. They properly diagnosed a Liz Frank injury, which we saw become a major issue in Carolina with Cam Newton, and a major issue with Jalen Mills last season and into this season. So it's good that they were able to actually diagnose it, and hopefully they can treat it properly, or we get rid of all the people and bring in the right people to treat it properly. But it feels like they might be kind of like the Lane Johnson high ankle sprain. It feels like they might actually begin things, because instead of hearing, oh, it's a lower body injury or it's a knee injury, they're becoming more specific. We're actually finally getting the truth, it feels like, whereas we haven't really been getting the truth with some of these other injuries in the past. But it's a little too late, I think, for this medical staff. If you're trying to save your jobs, I'm sorry, but I think you've fully committed to losing your jobs, and it's too late to save it.
Yeah, it is. And you brought up Alshon. I think they're in an interesting spot when it comes to Alshon. They guaranteed his contract for next year. If they were to cut him, it would cost, it'd be a dead cap hit of like $26 million. If they trade, I mean, then nobody's going to take his contract, especially with the type of player he is now. So it's definitely going to be interesting because if Liz Frank, he's going to have surgery within the next couple of days. A Liz Frank injury takes typically about 9 months, if I'm remembering correctly, to get healthy. That's going to take him to September, which is the beginning of the year. So I have we already knew that the Eagles wide receiving group was an issue or was something that they had to fix in the first place. Now they're going to have to do it with limited money because of what happened with Alshon and Nelly's probably going to be gone. Deshaun will hopefully be healthy coming back, so that'll help. But Howie Roseman is in a really interesting spot when it comes to this wide receiver corps.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the saving grace here is the deep, deep free agent pool and the deep, deep, deep wide receiving draft class. I mean, I saw a list of some of the incoming impending free agents, and then you look at the draft class. You can go. It's got to be addressed in rounds 1 or round 2, but you can get some potential weapons in the later rounds as well. But for a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, we need to address that in round 1 or round 2. I did a mock last night for fun, mocking a cornerback for everyone who wants to go cornerback in round 1. I got Christian Fulton, and then in round 2, I got Jalen Reagor. Flip side, I've seen some people giving us CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs, that type of situation. If we go first round with the wide receiving class, since the cornerback class is deep but not as deep. But, I mean, there's plenty of ways to address this, but unfortunately, one of those solutions, involves Alshon Jeffrey remaining on the team, because I looked on Spot Track, looking at his contract. If you release him, no matter what you do, we're on the hook. Even if you trade him, you're on the hook for $5 million plus, no matter when you trade him or drop him. So you're on the hook for a good chunk of change. Another saving grace is the salary cap is expected to go up a decent amount of money. So
it's going to be over $200 million next year.
It's supposed between $196 and $201 million. So which is up from $188 this year. So on the bright side, we're getting it. The cap is going up, but Howie's got to stop making those decisions with people at this age. That's why I'm sorry for the Malcolm Jenkins lovers, but this is the time. If this man wants $12 or $13 million or $14 million, like the situation we're locked in with Alshon Jeffrey, you gotta really think.
I think they're going
to
bring him back. My only thing is the Carson contract kicks in next year, so it's going to be a game of cat and mouse, and we know that Howie's really good when it comes to messing with the salary cap. But I want to take it back to the game. The defense in the second half against the Giants was really good. They gave up 29 yards in the second half. 29 yards. Also, I want to before we get back to the game, how bad is Booger McFarland? There were plenty of he kept talking. He's an analyst. He's supposed to analyze different plays. When the Giants did that flea flicker, he's like, I don't know if you heard what he said, but he was like, oh, it's third. This was a bad call. It's 3rd and long. The Eagles defense is playing back. They're not going to bite up. They showed a replay. When the flea flicker happened, every defensive back for the Eagles bit up, and Golden Tate was running free wide open down the field. If Josh Sweat, I think it was, did not get any pressure on Eli Manning, forcing him to dump it down to Saquon, the Giants scored a touchdown there, and this game is totally different. But yeah, Booger McFarland was awful calling games, and ESPN really needs to revamp that booth on Monday nights because they're terrible. Like, it used to be a privilege playing on Monday night, watching Monday Night Football, with the different broadcasters and whatnot. It's awful now. It's 4th on the list. It's Sunday Night Football, then during the day, Sunday. Thursday Night Football is ahead of Monday Night Football right now.
The fact that you put these people ahead of Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, that speaks volumes, because I don't know about you, but I hate Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth. I can't stand them.
I don't like Collinsworth, but I don't like Collinsworth, and I don't mind Al Michaels.
Yeah, but I mean, Booger McFarland, he's so literal. I mean, they've had a hell of a time on that ESPN broadcast. I think they were the ones who had Jason Witten. He was
Yeah.
terrible. He was boring. He was bland. Then you have Booger McFarland, who at least makes it exciting. You hear the excitement in his voice. You hear the enthusiasm. He's just so literal. He's just so damn
He's bad.
stupid.
He's terrible. He's terrible. All right, so going back to the game. But yeah, I had to throw my 2 cents in on that. He's awful. But yeah, that Eagles defense was really good in the second half. Again, we have to preface it. The Giants are not good. They do have weapons, but their offensive line is good. Like, Nate Solder was getting beat by Josh Sweat. Like, he was, when he got signed by the Giants, was the highest paid offensive lineman in the league. They definitely way overpaid for him. I mean, like, he couldn't block Josh Sweat one-on-one. And Josh Sweat is a growing player. He's not, if he's going to be good, he's not there yet. He hasn't hit that peak yet. But he put on a show because Nate Solder just can't block anybody.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Sweat is he's a good rotational piece, but do I think he's ever going to make to the starting lineup or become a starter? Probably not. But as far as the line goes, that was the biggest difference maker, I found. The Giants, Eli Manning was getting the ball off quick. And if you notice in the second half, it felt like the one thing Booger McFarland said in the first half was, look how quick Eli Manning's getting the ball off, which was quite obvious. And why are the cornerbacks continuing to play 7-8 yards off? That's exactly the amount of time Eli Manning needed to make his decision, find his first target, and make his play. And that is something that was adjusted in the second half, and that allowed the offensive line to create more pressure, because you can't create a lot of pressure when Eli Manning was getting the ball out at like 2-point-something seconds. That was a rate in the first half that he was getting the ball out. And if you're doing that, you can be any defensive line in the world. You are not getting to that quarterback that quickly, constantly, on a constant basis. So as soon as those corners and DBs started to play just a couple yards closer, that opens up that extra second and a half to create the havoc around Eli Manning. And one thing that we talked about last week was Eli Manning doesn't like to be hit. He doesn't like to end up on the ground. And that's exactly what happened. He started getting hit. He started being pressured. He started ending up on the ground. And that is what Eli Manning, as soon as you start doing that to Eli Manning, he becomes a shell of what we've seen him capable of being.
And he, excuse me, and he now has a record that is under 500. He's 116 and 117. And he's going to start this week. So we'll see if he can get back to the 500 mark if you're a Giants fan and if you're anybody that thinks he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know how you can be a Hall of – even if you have 2 Super Bowls, I don't know how you can be a Hall of Famer with an under 500 record. Let's move to this Sunday's game. The Eagles and the Redskins. The Eagles defeated the Redskins in come-from-behind fashion in Week 1. Deshaun having two 50-plus yard touchdown receptions. It's going to be a totally different game this week. The Eagles don't really have – they brought up Robert Davis. Who knows? He's 6'3". He runs about a 4.4. Who knows what type of weapon he'll be, if he'll even play. Who knows what type of weapon he's going to be on the outside for Carson. But the Eagles have turned into a methodical offense now. They dink and dunk their way down the field. They don't have big plays anymore. Again, the big plays that we saw on Monday night, Carson Wentz got outside the pocket. And we talked about it last week. Carson Wentz has the highest passer rating when he gets outside the pocket in the NFL. Again, Doug Peterson needs to incorporate that in the offense. Ryan Kerrigan is not.
And I think one thing, and we didn't even talk about it, but one thing that we would be remiss not to talk about it, is how much better the offense was when they were hurrying to the line and they were not thinking and they were not being overly methodical, because it felt like the Eagles were at their best in that second half when they were hurrying up the offense and when Carson Wentz was getting out of the pocket. 2 things that we have seen almost nothing of this season, but 2 things that we have constantly said and spoken to as a strength of Carson Wentz. And we need to see more of that. We need to see more of the hurry-up offense. Put the defense on their heels. If you have some momentum, you take that momentum and you continue to run with it. You get to the line, you audible plays, you get out of the pocket, you do those types of things. And we had a ton of momentum based off of those 2 things.
Yeah, and again, the Eagles have to find a way to build off that, incorporate that into the offense. I don't know how. They're going to have to find – obviously, you have to win these last 3 games. I mentioned at the outset of the show. The Eagles control their own destiny. You went out, you're going to the playoffs, you host Seattle or San Francisco in the wild card round. And anything can happen in the playoffs, especially at home. So let's start with this Washington offense. Again, it's not it's not Case Keenum. It is the rookie who I am not high on. I wasn't high on when he came out. And Dwayne Haskins, he's an inaccurate guy, and if you can get pressure on him, he'll throw you the football. You just have to catch it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I alluded to this earlier in the year. I think that the Washington Redskins, if I was to put my confidence and my marbles in either the Redskins or the Giants, I think the Redskins are more ahead in their rebuild. I think they're in a better position than the Giants. Maybe that's because Dave Gettleman isn't a part of it, but let's be honest.
Daniel Snyder's still a part of it, right?
I was going to say they've equally terrible owners and managers on the other side. But I mean, you look at it, like you said, you don't have a lot of confidence in Dwayne Haskins. He was kind of thrust into a situation. And all throughout the draft process, you heard one thing about Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins was a developmental quarterback. He was going to be someone who he was going to come to the NFL, but he wasn't necessarily NFL ready. So this is one of those situations. He was thrust into this situation. They said, enough with Keenum. Let's see what we have in Haskins. Our playoff lives, which were ironically not even over until last week. They basically decided a couple weeks ago that they were done and they were going to roll with Dwayne Haskins. I mean, you look at it, they got Terry McLaurin. He's a burner. He takes the top off. They got Calvin Harmon, who started to show off a lot better, show up a lot more, and he's a rookie. They got Trey Quinn. He's a good young receiver. They got Bryce Love and Darius Geis, who are both currently injured. Darius Geis can't seem to stay healthy, but you got those two in the backfield. I mean, the only real issue there is the tight end and along the offensive line could use a bit of work as well. But I mean, I think they're well ahead as far as the offensive rebuild goes. They just need to focus on that offensive line and getting that cleaned up.
I mean, I think as long as Daniel Snyder's the owner of that team, they're not going to win anything.
Probably not, and I think that we can probably think similarly right now of the New York Giants.
I mean,
as long as Dave Gettleman remains around,
it's easier to get rid of a GM than it is for an owner to give up any type of ownership of the team. That's where the Giants have the step ahead of the Redskins.
I mean, Dallas Cowboys as well. There's a little too much Jones in the ear there, I think. Although maybe he's finally realizing that either he has to step back or maybe I was wrong about certain things, Garrett, all this time. But yeah, like as long as there's an owner involved in stuff, that makes for tough business and a tough situation to put a manager in.
Yeah, it is, and that's where the Eagles have to step ahead of all these. I mean, you have a head coach in place who you know is going to be here because obviously the Redskins need a new coach, and Pat Shermer's probably going to get fired, and Jason Garrett's probably going to get fired. You have a general manager who is respected and somebody who has done the job before. Gettleman, he probably got one foot out the door. Dallas doesn't have a GM because of Jerry Jones, and Bruce Allen's probably going to get fired. And when you go to stability at the ownership, Jeffrey Lurie is well respected. He has control of the team. The Mariners, the Giants, they got respect. But Jerry Jones and Daniel Snyder, while they're leading their franchises, they're not going to win anything again, especially Daniel Snyder. So that's where the Eagles have to step ahead of all four teams in this division, and that's how you kind of want to keep it if you want to go and try to win your second Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we definitely have an owner who's willing to just be an owner and sit back and watch. We have a manager, like you said, he's well respected. He knows the business. He knows how to play the game, literally. And we're not talking the game of football. We're talking about the game of just being a manager of a football team and playing with that salary cap and working everything he needs in his favor. I mean, obviously with certain situations like the Alshon Jeffrey situation, you can't be perfect in every situation, but he knows how to work things. And we have a coach who's respected, and just unfortunately the staff around him is not well respected. So like you said, we have some positive things going for us, and it's not like we're preparing to enter a full-on rebuild. I think we're in a position where we just need to make we need to have a really, really good draft, which Howie Roseman has failed at doing since he's become a manager. And we need to have a really good free agency, not taking on ridiculous contracts, not putting ourselves in any bad situations. Get younger, be smart through the draft, and then fill any other holes after the draft with some smart free agents.
Yeah. You mentioned Darius Geis. That guy, he has all the talent in the world. He just cannot stay healthy. So the Eagles will get to see Adrian Peterson, Chris Thompson, maybe the old friend Wendell Smallwood. So that's really going to be. I just don't see how this Redskins offense, besides Dwayne Haskins stepping in the shotgun, taking 3 steps, and throwing it deep to Terry McLaurin. I don't see how the Redskins are going to score on the Eagles. It's going to be a tough. And this is another game where the Eagles should be able to get healthy and get right on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess the only issue there for me is if Adrian Peterson or Chris Thompson gets into the second level, because even after last week, I still don't have confidence in that second level and in the linebackers that we have on our team right now. You get to that second level, and there's a good chance that you could juke someone out, or you could just run through them and they straight up can't tackle you. They only get one leg or whatever. So, I mean, that's the only thing for me. Exactly. That's the only thing for me, because we know Adrian Peterson's a tough tackle. That's a whole lot of man. That's not as much as Barkley, but he's still a whole lot of man to take down. And Chris Thompson, he's had issues with health equally and just like you were saying about Darius Geis, but he's fast. If he can get into that second level, if he can make a nice pass catch, he can easily burn you for 10, 15, 20 yards after the catch. He's a good yak running back. But that's the only thing. It's just getting to that second level. And as we know, yes, Saquon Barkley had a tough time last week into that second level, because that defensive line, it's a tough defensive line to get past if you don't have an offensive line.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move to the Redskins defense. Again, I mentioned Ryan Kerrigan got placed on IR, so their best defensive player won't be on there. But their front line is good. Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, the Alabama boys, Montez Sweat, turning in a pretty good rookie campaign. John Bostic in the middle. And their secondary, I mean, they're overpaid and not really good. Josh Norman, pretty much, he's gone from Washington after this year. Landon Collins getting a lot of money for nothing. So, again, if the Eagles offense has a chance, the game plan for the opposing defense is to double Zach Ertz and force everybody else to beat you. The game against the Giants, I don't know how Zach Ertz got open so many times. He's the only player on the offense that you need to worry about, and yet he still finds ways to get open. I just wish Doug was able to do that with the other players, scheme ways for them to get open, and not just Zach Ertz.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, when you do a 2 tight end set, Dallas Goedert's probably going to be that open guy, but it's so predictable when you got that 2 tight end set and you have Josh McCown preparing to put a helmet on and become a receiver. I wonder where you're going to go with your 2 tight end set. You're probably going to go to the other tight end, because you're running the 2 tight ends across each other's paths or in opposite directions, so that you can't full on double both of them. So, I mean, yeah, it should be really interesting. You know what? Watching videos of Davis and stuff, he definitely has potential. And, during the preseason, if you remember, he had 2 passing touchdowns caught that were 40-plus yards. So, there's potential there. And we saw it. There was a couple times where Carson Wentz sling the ball. He bucked as the Bronco. And, so there's the potential there. If he can find Greg Ward, or he can find Davis, or one of them can use their feet to get an early break, a couple yards advantage, there's a chance that he could throw the ball deep and he could really open up the defense and make them think, oh man, he can actually go further than the sticks with Zach Ertz or Dallas Goedert. And if you can get that going, if you can get Miles Sanders going, if you can get Boston Scott going again, this offense suddenly becomes extremely versatile. But it's all about getting all those things going. If Jordan Howard, he's questionable, if he can be back, it becomes a whole different ball game if you get all those pieces going. But kind of like you alluded to, they just double Zach Ertz and make everyone else produce. And J-Jaw's underwhelmed. Greg Ward has a heart, seems to have a tougher time getting open. J-Jaw has a tough time getting open. There's a lot of guys who just can't create the separation to get open so that a play can be made in a quick enough time. And then we watch Carson Wentz hold on to the ball and get sacked, or, well, let's be serious, he gets sacked. He doesn't throw the ball away. He doesn't know when to call a play, then throw the ball away. So he usually ends up sacked. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if with Robert Davis, a tall, fast guy on the outside, if that'll help open up Davis and Ward as possible weapons throughout the game, even if it's just a couple times to put the defense on their heels.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see if he even gets a chance. Nelson's questionable. Other points from the injury
Let's be
report.
serious. At this point in the season, find out what you got. You know what you got in Aguilar already. He ain't saving your season. You're on your heels. Every week needs to be a win. Nelson Aguilar ain't bringing you that win. Robert Davis could bring you that.
You do want to have a veteran out there without Alshon. So Nelson, put him in the slot. You put Davis on the outside. Put Aguilar on the other outside. And let it go from there.
Did you ever think, I mean, at the end of the day, did you ever think that Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, a backfield of a practice squad and a rookie running back, that Boston Scott would emerge and end up being a hero in a game? Yes, it's against the Giants. This isn't a good team either. So let's be real. There's a chance that Boston Scott can step up and be a hero again in this game.
Because when the first round of the playoffs, you're not going to be facing the Giants or the Redskins. You're going to be facing Seattle or San Francisco. So that's all I'm saying, and that's a totally bigger.
But I mean, at the end of the day, these are the people. These are the people that have to make the plays. You can sit there and say, "But I wasn't against a good team." When we make it to the first round of the playoffs, we have no Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, whatever. Call it like it is. The man can't catch football. The man can't create separation. The man can't do a damn thing for that offense. So at the end of the day, you look at these pieces. Who cares if they're doing it against bad teams? They're gonna have to do it against any team that they play at the end of the day. So
I'm just saying, there's different levels of talent when you're going up against a defense like, we'll go with Seattle. They're gonna have higher caliber players covering a Greg Ward or a Boston or having a higher caliber linebacker covering Boston Scott than what the Giants and what the Redskins are going to throw out there. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. But sadly, we're in a situation now where we're not going to – we might have Deshaun, doubt it. We don't have Jeffrey. We don't have those weapons.
The earliest Deshaun can come back would be the divisional round. So that's where, if you win that wild card round and you have to go to a San Fran and you have to go to a New Orleans, getting Deshaun back would be huge for that. I think another key for the Eagles' offense is not having Lane Johnson, and that means going up against a Montez Sweat or going up against a Jonathan Allen will be Big V. That also, I wonder how much that can affect a Brandon Brooks. We saw the last time Lane Johnson didn't play, Brandon Brooks left the game early because he started having his anxiety issues. Now, I'm not belittling him for that, but that's something to keep an eye out on. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could definitely say that that's something that we could be concerned about, because his anxiety could flare up, but because he's put in more, he's thrust into more of a larger role, and because Vaitai is no Lane Johnson, so it's I can definitely agree. I can see the sentiments, and that's not a knock on the anxiety. That's not a knock on Brandon Brooks at all as a person. That's just who he is. That's just what the situation might create.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see. It's a huge game for the Eagles, obviously. A win, you improve your record to 7-7, and with Dallas hosting the Rams, anything can happen because the Eagles have a chance. The Eagles beat the Redskins and Dallas loses to the Rams. You're a win away against Dallas the week after from clinching the NFC East with a week to go, where you can rest your starters, rest the important ones, in Week 17 against the Giants, while the Niners and the Seahawks have a Week 17 clash that, they're going to be playing for all their hearts because that could be for the division. So this is a huge, huge week for the Eagles. Obviously you want to win your game, but then after that, at 4:25, you're watching the the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams, and you're a huge Rams fan that you want to go and try to win that division.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how, like, I don't think I've ever had a year where I've had to cheer for a team I hate so many times. I was a Patriots fan. I was a Rams fan. Like, damn, this year's been hard on the heart.
Bears fans
yeah,
last
we were,
week.
as a Bears fan, man, like, this has been hard on my heart. This has been hard on my loyalty towards teams. Like, I'd said I'd never cheer for the Patriots, and I had to do it. So, I mean, well, yeah, like, the sad reality is that come week 17, the fact that we sit there and we're looking and we're like, we would get to rest our starters. You want Boston Scott out there. You know that those people who could be considered starters for your playoffs, you probably have to have them out there because you have to have them getting every bit of experience and soaking up every little bit of playing time that they can get to prepare for that matchup against, like you said, a Seattle or a San Francisco in the wildcard round. So it's crazy to think that we may have to play a lot of players, and the people you're sitting is like Ertz, your key cogs on the offensive line, Wentz, and some defensive players, probably the older defensive players.
Yeah, you said Cox, you said Graham, you said Jenkins, McLeod.
I say you sit a guy like Barnett, people who've had issues with injuries throughout the season.
Barnett hasn't played in like 4 weeks. Like, if he's back, he needs to play to get his legs back under him. And I'm not saying play the entire game, but at least play the half.
Yeah, at least prepare yourself because, like you said, it is going to be a tough game. That wildcard weekend is going to be something we haven't felt in the last 4 weeks because we had the easiest schedule to end the year and we lost to the tank in 5 weeks. It will be 5 weeks, and that'll be your best, stiffest competition in 5 weeks.
Definitely will be. All right, so let's go over some keys and players to look out for the Eagles to come away with a victory. I don't think this is going to be an easy game. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be closer than people think. So what are your keys to the game, Connor?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be, like I said, I think this team is better than the New York Giants who sent us to overtime, who had us reeling down by 17 at certain points of the game. So this could be really close too. The keys of the game are stopping Terry McLaurin. We saw him it was week 1, right? Where he blew up on us. We saw last week Darius Slayton blow up on us. We just can't defend against those fast receivers, those burner receivers. It doesn't matter who you put on them. You can put a double team on them. It doesn't matter. No one can keep up with those guys on that defense, whether it be a safety, whether it be a corner. They just can't keep up. So, I mean, a big key is going to be whoever's on Terry McLaurin, be physical within those first 5 yards that you can be physical, and do not give him the time of day. If he'll hold him up for 3 seconds right off the line. You can keep it close. That might just be enough time for Dwayne Haskins to start feeling the pressure and turn away from a key weapon like Terry McLaurin. Other side of the ball, I mean, I think it's got to be on. It's got to be on Carson Wentz again. There has to be this feeling that Carson Wentz had some sort of say in all of a sudden the play being moved to the line so quickly, in him moving out of the pocket, him creating plays for himself. So I think that it's got to be on Carson Wentz again to use his legs, to move the team to the line if he feels that that's just the best. If you have the defense on their heels, we saw it work so much last week that it's got to be on Carson Wentz again to do that again. Whatever happened at the half, whatever he said to Doug, whatever he put in Doug's head to say, I'm running this show, he's got to do it again. That's how the offense was best. That's when we were able to give the defense the time to rest, to be able to come out, to be able to prepare to come out and pressure Eli again, be well rested and pressure Eli. And it was the way that we kept the opposing defense on their heels all night. Not all night, but second half and overtime. So I think those are two big keys for me.
All right, yeah, my big keys, I'm going to go with Big B up against whoever he's lining up against. It's important to contain those blocks because we want to you want Carson to stay healthy and you want to get the running game going. And the good thing is he's gotten a full week of practice, so he's not coming into the game without having practice. So hopefully we saw in 2017 when he was the starter at left tackle and he was practicing all the time that he was capable of holding that spot. So hopefully it's the same when it comes to the right tackle position. Um, and get Carson moving outside the pocket. Um, he's better outside the pocket. The offense flows better. And also, I want them to start the game quick. Start up tempo. Go no huddle. Let Carson just do what he does. That's when the offense finally started moving last week. So that's what I think the Philadelphia Eagles should do coming out early and to get the offense into a rhythm. Defensively, you mentioned it. Stop Terry McLaurin and don't give up big gashes to Adrian Peterson. He's a horse to tackle. And if he gets confidence, he builds confidence. He can make it a long day for your defense.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. Like there's been so many times throughout the season where we made a big play and we looked like the momentum might shift our way, and then we just down tempo completely slowed the offense down, and then we ended up wasting like a 15, 20, 30-yard chunk play with just slowing down, trying to ground and pound. We don't have the ground and pound right now. If Jordan Howard's in the lineup, it's a bit of a different ball game. You can semi-change your strategy up. But when you have a big play and you have the defense reeling, you got to move back to that line. You got to keep on that line. You got to keep pushing it. Because as a team who's struggled to get that momentum, I don't care if you're trying to establish a run game. I don't care what you're trying to establish. If you have the defense on their heels, you got to keep going. You got to keep driving that ball down the field, driving that ball down their throat, and not necessarily in a run format. Drive the ball down their throat with another 15-yard pass, another 15-yard connection, another quarterback run, like him getting out of the pocket, seeing if he can find a play, then running the ball. That's what you need to do, because we've struggled all season. Week in and week out, we talk about starting fast. We talk about momentum. We need to continue to maintain that. And I don't know if that's Wentz that took control or whether it was Peterson who realized he had to do that and hurry to the line and keep the opposing defense on their heels. But whoever it was, make sure that is established from the first offensive snap, not from the first of the second half.
I think that was more circumstances than being down 17-3. I think that's what determined that, but they do have to start it off.
Well, that's even better than if that's a thing. If that worked when it was a determinant circumstance because we were down that much, make it a constant determinant circumstance that you need to play like that, and that the ball has to be moved that quickly at all times.
Yeah, so hopefully the Eagles do that. Again, huge game. Division implications on the line. You have to win, and hopefully we'll get help from Dallas. All right, let's move to the vaulted pick segment. You had a good week last week. You lead 48-42. In your games last week, you picked the Eagles to win, obviously, and you almost had the score right. You said 24-17. Eagles won 23-17. In your upset, you took Kansas City over New England. Kansas City did win, even though the refs screwed over New England.
Don't be spiteful. Don't be spiteful.
What could have been 2 touchdowns. And then you took the Chargers over Jacksonville, and the Chargers dominated that in your lock. And I took the Eagles, obviously. And I took 2 underdogs. I took San Fran over New Orleans. The San Fran won in what was the game of the year, 48-46. And in my other upset, I took Carolina over Atlanta, but that did not go over so well. This week, obviously, we're going to pick the Eagles Redskins, but give me your first pick comment.
Oh, man. This is getting tough. I think I'm going to just go with I'm going with the Packers. Packers 4.5. I'm going to go. This is just an easy pick, I think, in my eyes. A lot of people, I think, are overreacting to Mitch Trubisky and last week's performance or the last couple weeks worth of performances. I still think Mitch Trubisky's not that good. I still think this Bears team was so overrated throughout the offseason. And you know me, I was high on the Packers. I remain high on the Packers. So I'm going Green Bay 4.5. This has all the makings of a Green Bay by like 7 or 10 points.
Hey, as long as Aaron Rodgers has a big day and throws for like 4 touchdowns, I'm good. I'm taking 2 upsets. My first one, I'm taking Miami +3 over the Giants. I have no rhyme or reason, but I'm taking Miami Miami. Hopefully,
It's Ryan Fitzpatrick, man.
It's magic.
It's the
Magic
anti-tank. This man is the anti-tank. You wanted to tank, you really should have went for like a Josh Johnson in the offseason or something. This man's the anti-tank. I mean, no one would have ever predicted the Dolphins even touching 3 wins, let alone get the potential to get a 4th win. Damn.
And Eli Manning is starting possibly his last home game for the Giants. So, yeah, I could be wrong. Maybe he has a fire lit under him, being as it could be the last time playing in front of that, Jersey crowd, which will probably be a sellout because it's going to be his last game. Because we all know Week 17, it's going to be like 75% Eagles fans, especially if the game has a chance to mean something for the Eagles anyway. So, yeah, it's going to be obviously a lot of Giants fans there. But I have Miami winning. Your next pick, which has to be an upset.
Oh, well, I'm going back to my other team then. I am going with the Buffalo Bills. Juju Smith-Schuster already been ruled out, and James Conner still questionable. I don't know how the Steelers are doing it, but the fact that they have so limited weapons on the offensive side of the ball, and then you're going up against the Buffalo Bills defense that has been stout and has been strong this season, I'm sticking with my Buffalo Bills, who you continue to think will falter at some point, but I think it's a little too late in the season. If they make the playoffs, that's a massive step. It's a massive upgrade over what they've been doing. And just
didn't they make the playoffs 2 years ago? It was like 2 or 3 years ago they made the playoffs. It was Sean McDermott's first or second year.
Exactly, but 9-4, going for 10-4. Pittsburgh's only favored by 1.5, so that's all it takes.
Oh, excuse me. The reason why Pittsburgh is doing so well because they have the coach of the year. Mike Tomlin's doing a hell of a job. I don't care what anybody says. I think Tomlin deserves a lot of coach of the year votes. I think Pittsburgh's actually going to win the game. That's just me. In my second upset, I'm taking the Houston Texans over the Tennessee Titans. I think Houston and Tennessee faced twice in the last 3 weeks, this week and then Week 17. Big games because the division is still on the line. But I'm taking Deshaun Watson, and I hate that I have to bet on Bill O'Brien to win a big game, but that's what I'm taking. I'm taking the Texans, who are 3-point underdogs over the Tennessee Titans. Now your Eagles, Redskins pick and score.
Well, I'm going to go with the Eagles, and you know what? I'm going to keep it the exact same as I did last week because I think it will end up being similar to last week. 24-17 for the Eagles. I'm doing it again.
I'm taking the Eagles, and I have a relatively close game. I'm taking the Eagles 24-13, but I think that the score to get them up to 24 is going to happen in the fourth quarter. So the game is going to be played close throughout, but the Eagles will just get a late score to pull away over Washington. I know if I was really contemplating on going to this game. Washington fans aren't going to be there. This is going to be another Eagles home game. Like the Eagles have a chance to finish off this season with so they had the Patriots, that was a home game, or they had Seattle, or Patriots, which was a home game, Seattle, which was a home game, and then they had the Bears, then they had the Patriots, then they had Seattle. They were all 3 home games. Then they went to Miami. That was a primarily Eagles home ground. Then they hosted the Giants, obviously a home game. They're going to Washington to face the Redskins this week. Going to be primarily Eagles fans. Then they host Dallas, obviously going to be primarily Eagles fans. And then they finish off in Jersey, which it could be primarily the Eagles have a chance to finish off the season with 8 straight home, quote-unquote, home games. I don't know if that's ever happened before in the NFL.
No, definitely not. But, I mean, it's very realistic that could be it. And, I mean, if there's one thing we're learning about Philly teams, they love the home field, home court, home ice advantage. I mean, look at the Sixers. They've yet to lose this season at home, on home court. So we'll take advantage of if the fans will follow, or even if it's at our home field or court or ice, that we love taking advantage of that. They love to play in front of their own fans.
All right, so before we finish things off, Connor, me and you are facing in the semifinals to get to the championship game in the ANYP Fantasy Football League. And you had a big day yesterday because freaking Lamar Jackson went off. scored you 37 points with his 5 touchdowns. And I sat, and you sat Jamison Crowder on the bench too. He had another 21 points. I had sat Mark Ingram, who got 22 points. So hopefully everybody else that I started has a good game. But yeah, so we'll see who out of the Kelly Green Hour hosts will go to the championship and represent for us.
Yeah, I was projected to lose to you, and after last night, now I'm projected to win by 1 point. So
I know
it's just like an Eagles football game. It's gonna keep us into it right until the final second.
Yep, it should. Hopefully I don't regret not putting Mark Ingram in the starting lineup. I knew I should have, but we'll see.
I never would have thought of Jamison Crowder. That matchup just made no sense.
It made no sense.
He played like garbage against all these weak teams for 2-3 weeks, and then he comes out with the tougher matchup and does that. Come on. Fuck fantasy football.
I know I have a matchup in my other fantasy league. I had a bye last week. If I win, I get to go to the championship to defend my title. So trying to become a back-to-back champion in that league. All right, so Connor, you can be reached at Connor10. That's Connor TN. You can reach the Always Next Year podcast Twitter at ANY Podcast. Reach me at LJ54. That's LJ54. Eagles, please win this game. Keep building on this, building towards the huge game next week as we are approaching the second Dallas week, this time a home game at Lincoln Financial Field. For Connor, I'm LJ. Thank you for listening to the Kelly Green Hour.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such eagle my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.